Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. A lot of fireworks surrounding this Florida Gators program over the last couple of days. Obviously, starting with Will Harris leaving to Miami, Darren Wilson coming in. Kind of some staffing shakeups for Florida going into 2025. I figured before we got into the spring practice conversations, let's kind of sum up what Florida did during the offseason, both from a roster standpoint and a coaching staff standpoint. Did Florida get better going into 2025? That's the conversation I want to get into. I got a few hot takes that I'm probably going to let it fly over the next 10 to 15 minutes to the Florida fans, whether you agree with it, whether you disagree with it. Let it fly in the comment section. A lot of different takes you can have regarding this Florida offseason. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. It truly has been a blast to talk about this program over the last couple of weeks. The amount of support y'all continue to show means the world. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start. There's two things you want to talk about when you talk about this Florida Gators coaching staff going into 2025. Now, a very simplistic PowerPoint here in terms of more for me than for y'all. It's just like so many different moves. You kind of want to have it all in front of you. On the offensive side of the football, the one big critique that I would have for Billy Napier that I'm sure 99% of Florida fans who are listening to this probably agree with, that is not hiring a true offensive coordinator, play caller going into 2025. I don't love it. I was banging the table for Billy Napier to do that, and at the very least, bringing an offensive coordinator that knows how to call plays and knows how to develop quarterbacks. Because you look at DJ Lagway over the next couple of years, you want to squeeze every ounce of potential out of DJ Lagway. And I think we all have question marks in terms of, is Billy Napier the guy to do that? Billy Napier's going to live and die on that sword. And I get the understanding of maybe not wanting to do it in terms of, hey, we DJ Lagway spent the last 12 months in this quote-unquote Billy Napier offense with Billy Napier calling the plays. Do you want to just help him with the continuity and keep it all the same going into 2025? I understand that point of view. I just don't think Billy Napier is an elite play caller and would rather have Billy Napier just be the head coach and not have to be the play caller as well. I think a lot of Florida fans probably feel the same way. Outside of that, I'm pretty happy with the offensive coaching staff. I think there was a lot of good things that you saw from Florida on the offensive side of the football. The defensive side is where the conversation starts. I want to amend how I talked about the Will Harris situation over the weekend, where to me, when Will Harris left for Miami, I believe it was a Thursday night, I'm reading the tea leaves that I saw, it had a little bit more to do with, bringing in Vinny Sinceri and slapping the co-DC tag on him, bringing a guy like Robert Bala, slapping a co-DC tag on him, and Will Harris didn't really get any elevation. That's where I thought the problem started. Well, it turns out the problem was between Ron Roberts and Will Harris. Here's my take on it. And look, I am not going to comment in terms of stuff that Ron Roberts said, off the field stuff that you see on the message boards and on Twitter. I'm only going to comment on what I've seen on the football field, and that was Ron Roberts did an exceptional job with this defense. And I know there were a lot of fans that were calling for a new defensive coordinator going into the 2025 year. I didn't get that. Ron Roberts was – became pretty clear that Ron Roberts was running the defense in the back half of the year. That Florida Gators defense in the month of November, I mean, it was elite creating negative plays, elite creating turnovers, very good in the red zone. And fundamentally, this defense looked different. It was a defense that was on the same page. It was not blowing coverages. The blitz schemes that they were dialing up were getting home. This was an awesome defense. And it kind of seemed to correlate with Ron Roberts decided and kind of took over this defense. If it was going to be Will Harris or Ron Roberts, and what this is not a Will Harris is a bad coach. It's just if it was between Ron Roberts and Will Harris gave Billy Napier an ultimatum between Will Harris and Ron Roberts, the choice to me was abundantly clear, and that was Ron Roberts. And again, I'm not commenting on stuff off the field. Ron Roberts might be hard to work with, but in terms of what he did with this defense, you can't deny that it was really good in the month of November. you hold on to Gerald Chapman, which I think is massive, right? He was getting some NFL buzz, and rightfully so. I think this might be one of the best defensive line coaches that you see in the game. And if Billy Napier wants to hold on to a guy like Coach Chapman, you're probably going to have a co-DC tag on him relatively dang soon. Robert Bala was a good. I like Robert Bala coming in. Vinny Sinceri, I'm in wait and see mode there with Vinny Sinceri. He's just kind of a new coach that has some NFL experience that I like. I think the coaching staff's in a good spot. Again, if there's one thing you're nitpicking, it's probably the lack of an offensive coordinator. I think you got it right on the defensive side of the football with Ron Roberts calling the plays on defense. Going into the roster side of things, did Florida get better from a roster standpoint? Pull up the depth chart. Was Florida as aggressive in the transfer portal as a lot of people probably expected? No, probably not. My argument with Florida in the offseason was they won it from a roster standpoint. And why did they win it? Because they kept so many guys on this roster. I mean, you look at Florida coming off that month in November and said that team, which was extremely young, which has the potential to return just about everybody on this football team that was playing football in November. The main goal, if you were Billy Napier, was keep this roster together. Yeah, you can make some transfer portal additions if you want, but if you can just carry this roster over from 2024 to 2025 with the amount of young talent that's just going to get better going into 2025, you knew that you were going to have a college football playoff caliber roster, and that's exactly what I think Florida does have going into 2025. From a pure roster standpoint, Florida has put themselves in a position to win at a very high level in the 2025 year. It obviously starts with DJ Lagway. I mean, you talk about transfer portal additions. J. Michael Sturdivant was a massive addition. It's exactly the kind of wide receiver that Florida was looking for. Bigger, longer wide receiver that can work vertically down the field. Another kind of sneaky storyline here was flipping Dallas Wilson late in the process from Oregon. That to me is essentially a high level transfer portal addition, because I think Dallas Wilson is a guy that's going to play early and potentially start for Florida in the 2025 year. And a guy that, again, perfectly matches what DJ Lagway wants. Hey, DJ Lagway throws the best deep ball in the country. Go get him guys like J. Michael Sturdivant and Dallas Wilson who are big bodies that can work vertically down the field. You keep together your offensive line. You keep Austin Barber out of the NFL draft. You keep Jake Slaughter out of the NFL draft. Really, the only question mark we have about this offensive line is who's going to start at right tackle. That might be a position where, hey, let's see what Fletcher Westphal looks like going into spring practice. If you maybe want to go make a late addition at the right tackle position, you can do that in the spring portal window. But, hey, you recruited a blue chip bona fide stud, in my opinion, in Fletcher Westphal. Give him a chance to show you what he can do. On the offensive side of the football, to me, there's just not where are the question marks that you have on this roster. And then you go to the defensive side of the football. And again, keeping Ron Roberts, to me, I think is a massive storyline. And then who do you keep out of the NFL draft? Again, when we're evaluating offseason work by programs, the first conversation goes to the additions that you make, which Florida did not make many. But the second conversation that you cannot ignore is keeping your roster together. You see a lot of programs lose good football players from their roster in this era of the transfer portal. Florida didn't lose one. I mean, was there one guy that left Florida in the portal that you looked at and said didn't want to leave? Outside of Jack Pyburn, was there a name? Maybe Arlis Boardingham. Florida didn't lose the guys they didn't want to lose. Keeping Tyreek Sapp out of the NFL draft. Caleb Banks. George Gums, I think, very well could have gone to the NFL draft. Really, really big retention. What about you got 4 off-ball linebackers that probably start on 95% of teams. You keep them all. Shamar James leaves, which I think's okay. Secondary, you keep everybody as well. And it sounds like things are going well with a guy like Kermani McClain, and you bring in a couple true freshmen that I think will be in the 2 deep. Florida's offseason was kind of a tumultuous roller coaster, and there are things that I think are frustrating. Like losing a guy like Will Harris is not ideal, because I thought Will Harris did a great job. But if it was between Ron Roberts and Will Harris, Billy Napier unquestionably, in my opinion, made the right decision. You retain your pretty much entire roster going into 2025. this team, it's hard to argue that they did not have a very good offseason and got better as a program going into 2025. This is by far, since Billy Napier has been there, the most talented roster that they have had. And I think just as importantly, the players are getting better within this roster. I mean, you saw significant improvement from a ton of different individuals on this football team throughout the 2024 year. What happens if that progress continues going into 2025? You are looking at a college football playoff team. So it's been a roller coaster of an offseason. The way I look at it, the probably the last question you ask yourself in terms of grading an offseason is, hey, did you get better and did you give yourself a chance to win at a high level in the fall? Florida has that chance. They have given themselves that chance. Now it's about going out and capitalizing on a quarterback like DJ Lagway and a ton of young talent on your roster. This is going to be a super – I don't know how it's going to look in 2025 because Billy Napier is a guy that we still have trust issues with. They're giving themselves a chance to do something really cool in the 2025 year. That's how we'll close it out. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. To the Florida fans, I know some of y'all probably disagree with some of my evals. Let it fly in the comment section. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.